Yeah, so this is a shloka. So actually here Sudha Goswami is speaking here. Sudha Vacha
Suta Uvacha
Abhyar Abhyartita Abhyarhitastada Tasmai Sthanani Kalaye Dadau.
या
Abhyartas Tata Tasmi
ततस्तदा तस्मै
Tasmi Tanani
स्थानानि
Kalaye Dadau
कलये दतौ
तस्मै ननानि कलाय ददाौ
Dyudampānam Shriya Suna
Dyutam Pana
द्यूतपानं
Striya Suna
प्रियसूना
Yatra Dharmas Chadurvida.
Yatra
यत्र
Dharma Chaturvidha
धर्मश्चतुर्विधः
Sudha Vacha
Suta
सुत
Uvacha
उवाच
Abhyartitastada Tasmai
Abhyartita Tada
अभ्यार्थितस्तदा
Tasmai
तस्मै
Sthanani Kalaye Dadau.
Stanani
स्थानानि
Kalaye
कलये
Dadau
दतौ
Dyudampānam Triyasuna
Dyutam Pana Striya Suna
द्यूतपानप्रियसूना
Yatra Dharmas Chadurvida.
यत्र
Yatra Dharma Chaturvidha
धर्मश्चतुर्विधः
Sudha Vacha
Suta
सुत
Uvacha
उवाच
Abhyartitastada Tasmai
Abhyartita Tada
अभ्यादितदस्त
Tasmai
Sthanani Kalaye Dadau.
Stanani Kalaye
स्थानानैकलये
Dadau
दतौ
Dyudampānam Triyasuna
Yutam
द्यूतं
Pana
पानप्रियसूना
Priyasuna
Yatra Adharmam Chadurvidam Vida.
यत्र
Yatra Dharmam Chaturvidaha
धर्मश्चतुर्विधः
So this sloka actually, Sudha Goswami said, Maharaj Parishad, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter were performed. Okay, so the basic principles of irreligiosity, such as pride, prostitution, intoxication, and falsehood, counteract the four principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. The personality of Kali was given permission to live in four places, particularly mentioned by King, namely the place of gambling, the places of prostitution, the place of drinking, and the place of animal slaughter. So that is a background. With that, actually, we can read today's topic. We can read, so some devotee can read starting from the purport. From here onwards, now you can start reading because already we covered the shloka and translation. So, who wants to read the purport?
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji, sure.
Hare Krishna. Purport. The basic principles of irreligiosity, such as pride, prostitution, intoxication, and falsehood, counteract the four principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. The personality of Kali was given permission to live in four places, particularly mentioned by the king, namely the place of gambling, the place of prostitution, the place of drinking, and the place of animal slaughter. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji. One more paragraph.
Yes, Prabhuji. How a living entity becomes a victim of the material condition is lucidly explained in this verse. The beginning is to misidentify the body as oneself. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita begins with the spiritual instruction that one is not the body but is within the body. This consciousness can be possible only if one chants the holy name of Krishna, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and always keep oneself in the association of devotees. This is the secret of success. Therefore, we stress that one should chant the holy name of the Lord and keep oneself free from the contaminations of this material world, especially the contaminations of lusty desires for illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. With determination, one should vow to follow these principles and thus be saved from the miserable condition of material existence. The first necessity is to become freed from the bodily concept of life. Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, 2nd canto, 38 purport. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Somebody else can read remaining two paragraphs.
As mentioned before, there are four basic characteristics of an impure life: illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. According to the Vedic principles, sex should be indulged in outside of marriage.
Should
In
not be.
human should not be indulged in. In human society, there is therefore a system of marriage which distinguishes us from the cats and dogs. Whether we are Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, we acknowledge the system of marriage. The purpose of this system is to avoid illicit sex. According to the Vedic system, intoxication is also discouraged, nor is meat eating advocated. Now, for human beings should be non-violent. We have been given sufficient grains, fruits, milk, and vegetables, and therefore there is no necessity to kill poor animals. Some people argue that if we do not eat meat, we will be unnourished. But we can see that the students of this Krishna consciousness movement have given up meat and are very healthy, whereas people who are eating meat are still, despite their meat eating, subject to so many diseases, and whereas unhealthy whereas people who are subject to many unhealthy conditions. Gambling is also discouraged because it is simply agitates the mind. This then is the purificatory process which one can become a Brahmana. This path is open to everyone. A Brahmana is one who is truthful and pure, tolerant and simple, full of knowledge and faith in God. He can control his mind and his senses also. Hare Krishna. From
Thank you,
the
Prabhu.
book Elevation to Krishna Consciousness, Chapter 3.
Thank you, Darshan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So somebody can read rest.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Therefore, there is no difficulty in coming in contact with the Supreme Lord. Ko Tai Prayashat. On
Ko
the
adi,
other,
ko
Prabhu,
adi prayasa. Ko adi
Ko
prayasa. Yeah.
Ko Adi Prayasha. On the other hand, going to hell requires great endeavor. If one wants to go to hell by illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication, he must acquire so many things. For illicit sex, he must arrange for money for brothels. For meat eating, he must arrange for many slaughterhouses. For gambling, he must arrange for casinos and hotels. And for intoxication, he must open many breweries. Clearly, therefore, one if one wants to go to hell, he must endeavor very much. But if he wants to return home back to Godhead, there is no difficult endeavor. To go back to Godhead, one may live alone anywhere, in any condition, and simply sit down, meditate upon the super soul, and chant and hear about the Lord. Thus, there is no difficulty in approaching the Lord. Ananta Gobir Vistam Tamishram.
Adanda gobir vishadam tamishram.
Adanta Gobir Vishidam Tamishram. Because of the inability to control the senses, one must go through great endeavor to go to hell. But if one is sensible, he can very easily obtain the favor of Supreme Personality of Godhead because the Lord is always with him. By simple method of Swaranam Kirtanam Vishnu, Vishnu, the Lord is satisfied. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.7.38 purport. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Sushil Kumar Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So today's topic is very important topic. Basically, to understand what is the importance of a pure life, why there are regulatory principles, etc. So this is what actually we are going to discuss today. Okay. Okay. So just 1 second. Okay. So So we'll discuss actually the first two paragraphs first. The basic principles of electricity. Hare Krishna, just can you just give me a couple of minutes? Huh? I'll give back in 2 minutes.
All right, Prabhu, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Mataji.
Um, you were reading, no, Mataji?
Finish Mataji. Reading is over. Prabhuji wanted to check something, Mataji.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, he may take some time, so he told me to say. Yeah. Okay, this paragraph reading is over.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay,
We
okay,
did.
okay. Then we can make points.
Till this, we finished Mataji.
So, any points anybody can say from the reading? What are the basic principles of irreligiosity? Hey Krishna, Revati Mataji want to say what are the basic principles of irreligiosity?
Meat eating, gambling, drinking, and illicit sex, Mataji.
Yeah, yeah. So further explain here, like about the pride, prostitution, intoxication, falsehood, and then it counteract the four principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanness, and mercy and truthfulness. Uh, can anybody explain like which? How austerity it will come in this meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. Which one austerity will come?
Mataji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah.
Animal slaughtering, austerity comes by mercy. We
Yeah.
kill another living being. We are not supposed to. No one has rights to kill others.
Yeah. So meat eating will spoil mercy. Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
And gambling, truthfulness, Mataji.
Yes. Yeah. Gambling will spoil the truthfulness. Yes, Mataji.
I think I should give others chance,
Yeah.
Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yes. Yeah. Anyone can say. Anybody can say.
Intoxication destroys that or austerity.
Austerity. Yes. Intoxication will spoil the austerity. Yeah. Now only one more.
The cleanliness and it's a prostitution.
Yeah, illicit sex will spoil the cleanliness. Yeah, so that's what Prabhupada has made a very simple way. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. This is already mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, but we will not understand what is this austerity, what is this cleanness, what is mercy. So, Prabhupada has put it in a very simple way. So, which are those things? So, these are the four don'ts of Krishna consciousness. Now, which are the four do's? Anyone want to say which are the four do's? These are the don'ts, but not only don'ts are there are do's also in Krishna
Hare
consciousness.
Krishna Mataji, chanting.
Yeah, see, chanting.
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Nididhyasana,
Yeah.
Association,
Mananam.
Yes, Mataji, that are the 9 process of devotional service. Yeah, but there is something ABCD is there.
ABC.
association,
Association,
book reading,
books reading, yeah,
chanting,
chanting,
and prasadam
prasadam, yeah, diet. Yes,
diet.
yes, yeah. So these are the four do's. We have to associate always with the devotees. Association. Even though we are interacting with other people, we should not take their bad character. So Prabhupada says that it is very impossible to not associate with any people in the world. We have to associate with everyone, but we should not take their bad characters. We can give our good characters to them, but we should not take their bad characters towards us. So association is very, very important. With whom we associate, we will be like that. Same, the material world also, they says that, tell me who your friend, I can tell you about yourself. With whom we are associating, that same nature we also will get. So we can associate with people, but don't take their habits, their bad habits. We should try to give our good character. So by showing that, like as our Nimita Mataji always says, that by seeing her itself, they will start asking, okay, how you are be able to happy, how you are always calm, and why how you are not getting angry. So like that, automatically they are taking our association. And book reading, so every day we have actually a sadhana chart also, so probably can share with all of you about the sadhana chart. So that talks about how much book reading time you are spending every day. Something is measured always, it will be always good. Otherwise we will sometimes, we have some time we will read, otherwise we'll think, okay, today I can't read, tomorrow I will read. So that is not sadhana. Sadhana means something we have to do regularly on a particular, on a, what do you say, like half an hour I'm reading, or 15 minutes I'm reading. I should do it that minimum 15 minutes or half an hour. Extra we can read, that is fine. So book reading is very, very important, because otherwise people will say this is just as a mental speculation only, or some sentimental. You people are sentimental. Spirituality is not sentimental. It is have strong scientific basis is there. If we want to know that, we have to read books every day. Without fail, we have to read Srila Prabhupada's book. There are so many books are there, and people will get misdirected also. So that's what it is very important to read books that is coming from the authorized parampara. So in that parampara, whatever words are written by Srila Prabhupada, it is the same word what Krishna has mentioned, or what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has mentioned. So, the words of Prabhupada are not different from Krishna. So we should read every day books. And the third one is chanting. Chanting is the essence of everything. Whatever we do, ultimately we should get the taste for chanting. Whatever we do, and still we don't have the taste for chanting, that means there is something wrong in what we are doing. So chanting is very, very important. And the last one is, what's the last one? The
Prasadam.
Diet.
Yeah,
Diet.
prasadam. Diet, yes, yeah. So I think Ranchar Prabhu was mentioning last week also. Our aim is not vegetarian. We become a vegetarian and everything will be good. And Prabhupada always says that we should become Krishnatarian. Krishnatarian means we take the food that is first offered to Lord Krishna. So, everybody are cooking at home. Anyway, we have to cook at home. Now, especially in this pandemic, we have to cook at home. So, we offer that prasadam, that bhoga to the Lord, and take that remnants as prasadam. That will purify our heart. This is the only way actually Prabhupada made disciples in US, US and all the foreign countries. Prabhupada was just giving them enough prasadam. With a pure heart, he will make nice dishes for the Lord and offer to the Lord for the pleasure of the Lord, and he distribute that. So by eating that, people heart starts getting transformed. So these are the four do's. So that also we should. So we actually, if we are doing the four do's properly, then automatically the don'ts will come in place. We don't need to, try, or we have to artificially. We don't need to do that. When we are associating with the devotees, when we are reading books, when we are chanting, and when we are following the diet, then automatically this austerity, cleanliness, mercy, truthfulness will come. So first, the most important is do's. So by the help of do's, these don'ts will automatically happen. Yeah. Any other points? Mataji, want to say any other points? We'll go to the questions. Mataji are there, no? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mass Mataji.
Aruna Mataji. Okay. I don't know how connected. So, yeah. So, how many principles of religion are there? How many principles of religion are there? Anybody want to answer? Revati Mataji, you want to answer? How
Or
many
principle,
principles?
Mataji?
Yeah, 4 principles are there. So, which are those?
It is cleanliness,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cleanliness, austerity,
austerity,
mercy,
mercy, and truthfulness.
and truthfulness. Yeah, these are the 4 principles of religion. Yes. Yeah. So what are the 4 characters of impure life? Pure life. Yeah.
That we are read that intoxication,
Yes.
illicit sex, meat eating,
Gambling. Gambling.
Gambling.
Gambling. Yeah. So these are the characteristics of impure life. So how we living at it, they all become victim of the material condition is, very nicely explained. Yeah, Prabhu has come. Okay. Okay. Now we discussed about the first 2 questions we discussed. This reading is over, na? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was trying to get points from them. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Sorry, Prabhuji, Mataji, actually I have to go. Something urgent came. Okay, so what we discussed till now, I don't know. Can you just summarize what was discussed when I was not there?
Hare
Those,
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
No, in the chin Prabhuji, please carry on, Prabhuji.
the first two questions, they were there in that
Okay.
scroll, just these two.
Okay. Okay. How many principles of religion are there? What are they? What are the 4 characteristics of impure life?
These two come.
Okay. Okay. So let us go through the paragraphs. We'll try to summarize. Uh, so the 4 principles, no, basically what is the point? No, actually, the background is this, that Sukadeva Goswami, in while speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, he was explaining to Parishad Maharaj, no, how the age of Kali started, right? So actually there are 4 pillars of religion. Okay. So what are the 4 pillars of religion? Is actually mentioned here. What are they? Truthfulness, right?
Austerity.
Austerity, cleanliness,
Cleanliness.
and mercy, right? Mercy.
Mm.
So these are the 4. So austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So these are the 4 pillars of dharma. So these are the 4 pillars of dharma, right? So basically, any society, if these 4 pillars are not properly followed, then actually there will be always difficulties and chaos. So these are the fundamental principles which are actually expected. And what is happening is that the 4 regulatory principle. Why do we do is that because each of these 4 regulatory principles is directly opposing or destroying one of the 4 pillars. So that is why that is why these are very important actually, right? So that is a fundamental principle behind it. So we can see how what is against what. So here actually it is mentioned. Okay. So no meat eating. So eating fish, eggs, whatever it is, all these things, right? Meat eating. This is associated with killing the animals, right? So killing the animals actually what is it is destroying the quality of mercy. So mercy, what is mercy? So every generally, every living entity, like especially human beings, have mercy. By some amount of mercy is there in human being. So naturally, we feel hesitant to harm somebody or kill somebody, etc. That is general characteristics of human being, right? But actually, in Kali Yuga, we can see that people have different what you call concocted different ideas, and then some people say that okay, especially in Western countries and all, they say that okay, they don't accept the concept of soul, right? And then they think that killing an animal is okay because animal doesn't have soul. Many of the Christians believe like that. They think that the animal doesn't have soul, so we can kill the animal. Okay, but actually, it's not at all true, right? Because we understand that the living entity is a soul which is accepting different bodies, right, based on a different karma. So every living entity has actually an atma in it, and then when you harm any living entity, actually that soul actually is distressed and trouble, and whenever you do that, we have to actually suffer the reactions of doing harm to other living entities. So this is the basic mercy or daya that actually human beings should have. And beyond that, actually is known as a jiva daya, or the compassion for the soul. So actually, when you understand the higher principles, right, we understand like about the soul and what is the ultimate benefit of the soul. Anybody can say what is the ultimate benefit of the soul?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Reaching Krishna Prema.
Yes. So basically, ultimate benefit is that no, we should get out of the cycle of birth and death, right? So every living entity is suffering in the material world and the cycle of birth and death, and because of the ignorance of the living entity, the living entity is unaware that what is his position, what is expected out of him. So they think that I am the body, and then all the living entities' activity is actually centered towards the body, right? Considering the body and the position, whatever in this body I am living now, and these are my relatives, etc. Based on this conception of body, the living entity actually works day and night, right, to achieve various things. For example, earn money, build a nice facility, etc. Like that, he keeps on struggling in the material world. Because this is done because he doesn't know what is the real identity, right? But a person who understands the real identity, he understands that the body is only a temporary designation, right? And the real aim of the human body, right, human life, is actually to break the cycle of birth and death. Similarly, the living when person is enlightened, he actually sees the soul in every living entity. Whenever he sees an animal, whether it is a cow, goat, or anything, actually for that matter, chicken, he understands that there is a soul in that body, and then because of the karma, that soul is actually currently in this particular animal body, right? So we should not harm any. When he understands that way, he cannot harm any living entity, thinking that no, everybody is actually the Lord's children, right? All of them are children. So it's somewhat some of our friends in this lifetime, or some of our relatives in this lifetime, could become an animal in the next life, right? And some of the animal which you are seeing could be a relative of you in some other birth. So all these things, only when we have higher knowledge of spiritual science, then we can understand like this. Look at every living entity as soul. So this is a very high platform. It is known as the Brahma Buddha platform. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it is told that Brahma Buddha Prasannatma na sochadi na kankshadi sama sarveshu bhudeshu mad bhaktim labade param. So actually sama sarveshu bhudeshu. So he actually sees all living entity in the same platform. So this is the high thinking, right? So simple living and high thinking. So today's world, we see that then that's the opposite, right? Simple living and high thinking means high living and simple thinking, or very meager thinking. So we have to understand that mercy is actually very fundamental for the sustenance of living entity. So today's world, we see that no, even there is no mercy between human beings itself, right? Though many people doesn't hesitate to kill each other, for very small things. So that is a very fallen condition of Kali Yuga. So actually, when Kali wanted to, when Kali came, as soon as the Lord Krishna disappeared, in the end of Dwapara Yuga, Kali was just waiting actually for the opportunity, because till when Lord was present, actually Kali could not enter. And as soon as Lord departed, immediately Kali's influence started appearing everywhere. And the kings actually, like Vishnu Maharaj, etc., started to see the feeling, what you call the signs of appearance of Kali. And Parishad Maharaj, actually, once when he is going out on hunting, he will see that a very black colored Shudra man who is dressed like a king, right? And he is trying to hurt the cow. He is trying to beat the cow's legs actually continuously. So that then Parish Maharaj was immediately, what you call, he was very much agitated by saying it, and then no, he immediately was ready to kill that person. So then actually it was revealed that this personality was none other than Kali. Kali was appeared in the form of a person, right? And then he was ready to destroy the cow. Is a symbol of what you call dharma, right? A cow is actually very sacred, and actually it's very pious animal, right? So and attacking a cow was unheard actually in the previous yugas. because the cow actually is considered as the abode of all the demigods, right? And there are so many glories of cow, and then because, that is why the Lord actually Krishna, no, he actually always very pleasing to the cows. Krishna is known as Go
Gopal.
Brahmana Hidayaja. Go Brahmana Hidayaja, right? So Jagadidaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Nama. So Go Hidayaja means he is always favorable to cows because actually Lord wants to demonstrate that the cow actually is very sacred animal. Why cow is so important? Because cow, there are six mothers actually it is considered, and one of the mother is cow, because cow actually can sustain just by having cow. No, a human being or if a society can be completely self-sufficient because the cow can actually give so many things, right? Cow can give milk actually, and from milk so many milk products can be created, right? Curd, ghee, so many things, butter, and these products are very enriching, and they are all in the mode of sattva guna. So if you consume milk products, actually our intelligence will be made very in the sattvic mode, and we can understand the spiritual truths in very well. Otherwise also by milk is considered as a whole food, right? And actually by consuming milk actually we can sustain ourselves. And the cow dung etc, no, urine, cow urine, everything is useful. With cow dung actually it's a manure, we can actually have sustain agriculture. So with having cows actually we can have a self sufficient society, right? Actually, and then completely depends. So because the cow gives milk, cow is known as one of the mothers, and then we cannot we how do we treat our mothers the same way we are supposed to treat cows. So that way Kali was attacking the cow, and Parishad Maharaj was ready to kill him. Then actually but Kali will actually try to plead with Parishad Maharaj, because anyway Kali's influence was ordained already because of the material arrangement, right? Material cosmic manifestation and the material laws of nature. The four yugas are already predetermined by the Lord, right? Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga nevertheless has to come. It cannot be stopped. It is always ordained that Kali Yuga will come. So Kali will somehow convince Parishad Maharaj to spare him. And then he'll tell that I don't have any place, because when Parishad Maharaj was living, ruling the kingdom, and before the kings which are ruled before Parishad Maharaj also, so they all actually were very saintly kings, and so there was no possibility of violation of the four religious principles. So because of which Kali was telling Parishad Maharaj that I cannot survive because because of your rule. No, there is no place for me to stay anywhere. So this way he pleads, and finally Parishad Maharaj will allow him to live in these four places that we already saw, right? So we have to understand that wherever these four principles are violated, actually the influence of the Kali will be the most strongest. So these are the four places which you already saw here, right? Gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter. So wherever these activities are there, actually there the Kali's influence will be the maximum. And also Kali is also given place to reside where there is gold. So wherever gold is there, there also problems will be there. So that is why these four things are actually multiple reasons for no not violating the religious principle. So one actually from a purely religious perspective, these are the fundamental pillars of religion, dharma, and then if you violate, actually there will be severe sinful reactions. Second is that because actually what is second reason? Because actually Kali is residing in these four places. So wherever actually these four activities happen, there is a strong influence of Kali. So Kali's influence, the nature of Kali means actually quarrel and hypocrisy. That is the symptom. So wherever these things happen, there will always be quarrel, and we can see that all the sinful activities and criminal activities now will be surrounding in these places actually, right? So that is why these are very important, right? So we have the four principles, right? So we saw the first one, no meat eating. Then what is second one here? So no gambling. So what is gambling is actually violating the principle of truthfulness, right? Because gambling means cheating, right? So gambling can fundamentally gambling means we have all these so-called casinos, or no playing cards, or so many other things actually, right? These are all gambling. Even actually to some extent, no, like any speculative business also is gambling. For example, no, even stock market for that matter actually, is kind of one kind of gambling actually, right? So ultimately the money what we earn should always be in a truthful mean, because in any business for that matter, no, there is actually some kind of cheating, because unless until you cheat somebody, it's very difficult to make profit in this particular age of Kali. In the olden times and all, this kind of business was less actually. People used to trade things actually, they will exchange the things. In today's world, every business you see there is some kind of cheating. So it is very difficult to be practically not sinful in this age. But nevertheless actually we should try to minimize our sinful reaction, because unless until we minimize the sinful activities, it is very hard to make progress in spiritual life. It is very no, because with this current behavior it is not possible to go back to our original place. So that is why gambling. Then next is no intoxication, destroys the principle of austerity. Austerity is tapasya, right? So austerity means, for example, ekadashi we are taking austerity. What are we doing? We are actually voluntarily, austerity means voluntarily taking trouble or difficulties for pleasing the supreme lord. No, for example, generally we are happy to eat very nice food, right? Every day we want to eat nice palatable dishes. But on Ekadashi day, we actually minimize our requirement of food so that we voluntarily take some austerity. So we see that in practical material life also, for any successful endeavor, there is some austerity required. We have discussed many times, right? For example, somebody wants to clear a competitive exam or want to do IAS or whatever it is. So there is some austerity required. No, we have to compromise certain things. So this is very important to increase our determination, right? So intoxication, that is a fundamental principle of religion. Otherwise also very, it's very obvious. I think not no need to explain, right? Intoxication, how intoxication is dangerous, that everybody, even materialistic people also agree. For example, somebody is a drunkard, we can see that his entire family is ruined, actually everything is spoiled for that person, right? He becomes addicted and no, he doesn't have, he cannot have any control on his life. And we see so many murders and etc happening because of somebody is intoxicated. And for example, drugs, right? So actually that person will not be in the normal consciousness. Then I think 1 second, I let her mute somebody. Yes. Uh, and the last one actually cleanliness, right? So cleanliness actually is a fundamental. We say cleanliness is next to godliness. So actually, the illicit sex activity is actually destroying the cleanliness. But actually, it is much beyond cleanliness actually, because we know that. So it's a sinful mentality, right? Because see, it is told many times. We have discussed earlier also. This entire material world, right, is actually it is actually running on the attraction between men and women. So that is the fundamental force which actually is driving or impelling the living entity to control. I mean, to live in this material world, no, and direct his various activities. So this is a fundamental illusion, actually, which is part of the material world, right? So and we see that actually lot of our mental activity in the material world is revolving around this act. So basically, external behavior is one thing, but what is happening in the mental plane is not easily visible to others. But we see that so many, many of our mental activities, people are so much preoccupied actually with these things that actually they are not able to focus on anything positive. So somebody, if they want to progress actually in spiritual life, then actually they have to gradually become free from the corrupt thoughts, because these thoughts actually are agitating the mind, and we cannot become peaceful, right? We become agitated, and we know that, no, there's a shloka in Bhagavad Gita, we have discussed it earlier. What is that shloka? ध्यायदो विषयान् पुंसा संगस्तेषु भजायते संगात् संजायते काम कामात् क्रोधो विजायते क्रोधोद्भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिभ्रंशः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. So what actually it means says is that Dhyayado Vishayan Pumsa. Basically, everything starts from the contemplation, the mind, mental platform. Dhyayade Vishayan Pumsa, Sangasteshu Vajayade, Sangat Sanjayade Kama. So basically, when somebody sees, basically we know that there are five senses. So each of the five senses is continuously dragging the living entity, towards the material sense objects. There are different sense objects, like eyes have a particular sense object, ears have a sense object, nose have a sense object. So the different sense objects actually tries to attract the senses in that direction. And initially the living entity starts with the contemplation. So when I just have a very nice smell of some food actually which I like, some pakoda is being made, and then I get the smell, no, immediately my nose becomes attracted to that, right? And then I start thinking, okay, somebody is making pakoda, then I will start, no, then I want to eat it actually, like that. So dhyayade vishayan pumsa sangasteshu vajayade sangat sanjayade kama. Once you get association of that particular senses, then actually we develop attraction to that kama. Sangat sanjayade kama kamat krodho bijayade. So when the particular desire is not fulfilled, then actually we become angry, right? Krodho bhavati sammoha. When krodha actually is becoming out of control, then actually what happens, actually we become bewildered. Sammoha sammohat smriti bramsha. When we are bewildered, our memory is lost, actually intelligence is lost. Smriti Bramsha, Smriti Bramsha's Buddhi Nasho, Buddhi Nashat Pranashari. So basically, these are the chain of events which actually happen generally, when because before somebody falls down or before somebody commits a sinful activity, these are the sequence of steps. So first, everything starts with the contemplation in the mind, right, in the mental platform. So that's why we start, no, Dhyado Vishayan Pumsa. So the point is that all these activities, basically we are all without, so generally people who doesn't have spiritual awareness, they just become a, what you call, like a, what you call, mm, a puppet, right? They become a puppet actually in the hand of the material energy, because they don't realize, they don't even realize actually what is happening, they just become fall victim to the various mental and other actually attractions. Continuously they fall victim again and again, and they can't figure out what is happening. because of their, just because of their vasanas, right? And before the past karma, past activities, they keep on falling down again and again, in various ways. But actually, when somebody becomes spiritually enlightened, or no, when we starts understanding the spiritual topic, then actually we can start analyzing, or we can really understand what actually really is happening here, right? So all this activity, actually it is connected to the bodily platform, because the living entity thinks that he is the body, because this attraction between the two opposite genders, right, that happens because we think that we are this particular gender, where actually in reality the soul doesn't have any gender, right? It is neutral actually. And soul in the spiritual world, the soul takes different forms just to serve the supreme lord. So the original purpose of soul actually is to serve the supreme lord, who is the creator. But when you are in the material world, we wrongly I think that we are the body. So all this activity, right, this activity which are sensuous, which are related to senses, actually reiterates or forcefully makes the living entity convinced that I am the body. So that is why these activities actually continuously bind the living entity deeper and deeper, right? So all the four activities, we can see that they are all sinful, and then they drags the living entity down to the lower and lower platform. So that is what we saw in the subsequent paragraph, right? Actually, it is Prabhupada is discussing here that how it is difficult to go to hell. So this is little interesting actually how Prabhupada is saying. So before that, I think this particular topic. So some more information is given here in this paragraphs. What is why the institution of marriage is important in human society? Because without actually a marriage, so because we see that animals doesn't have any marriage, right? They do whatever they like. But actually, the human society, even in other cultures, actually, all cultures, there is the system of marriage. Until recently, it was there, but in the future, we don't know what will happen, because already, people have this concept of living in relationship without marriage and all, which are all extremely sinful and degraded. So, according to Vedic civilization, marriage is actually it's one of the samskaras, and then it is very considered as very pure and and somebody actually performs a marriage ceremony properly and lives as a proper husband and wife, but no, they are actually considered religious. No, and it is guaranteed that they will not fall down to lower species of animal if you're a proper householder, right, executing your duty properly. So that way, marriage is actually a what you call it's a kind of a sanctified actually relationship, which is actually accepted according to Vedic culture, right? But nevertheless, the point is that whether you are married or not married, the point is that actually how are we using our senses, right? How do we indulge our senses, and how much actually we are able to serve the Lord? That ultimately, that is what finally matters. So some of the things which are mentioned in the scriptures or from the spiritual perspective may actually overlap with the moral standards, but it is not always necessary, that our normal mundane moral standards are always agreeing with the spiritual standards, right? But some many cases actually it will agree, especially if you take some hundreds of years back, no, they will completely agree, because people were living in a religious life. But in today's society, still actually some of the things are considered as no, it actually matches, because these four things, of course, the animal killing and all, western countries they will not accept, because that is part of their culture, right? They will not accept. But in general, actually we can see that, especially at least in India, no, we can see that these principles are still there, right? So that is why it is very important to have a proper married life, and actually be happy with the particular married life with the partners. No, actually in Vedic culture, it is not at all recommended. No, the divorce actually is something which is not at all allowed, because actually we have to understand that whatever situation the living entity is put in a particular life is all based on the past karma. Even if you try to break it or by doing various other activities, no, you will have to definitely suffer. So people, if they accept the authority of Vedas and the karma, they have to actually, whatever situation we are in, we have to understand that it is part of the karma, and we have to try to adjust with it. And in all conditions, try to always remember the Lord and ask for His mercy. The Lord can liberate it from the condition. So, any questions till now? No questions?
No problem.
Prabhu, that the places where this Kali is living, that time they said a place where gold is also there. Maybe
Yes,
you
Prabhu.
can give some light on that, Prabhu.
Gold actually, I also mentioned Prabhu, gold. So gold is also one of the places which is allowed. Because gold actually is the place where wherever money, gold, you can also think that it is money. So where there is too much money is there, right? Always we can see that there will be quarrel. That is the idea, right? So basically, Kali means quarrel and hypocrisy, right? That is a fundamental characteristic of Kali. So wherever there is gold, we can see that no, even parents or even children are ready to kill their parents, right? If there is too much of money, then there is always trouble there. So that is why people who are actually interested in spiritual life, right? That is why we say that simple living and high thinking. What it means is that simple living means don't try to hoard about the things which are not really necessary. The lesser the possessions. One second, there is too much of noise. Yeah, so wherever actually, yeah, wherever there is money, too much of money, right? That means that there is always trouble there. So we can see that, no, like so many people actually, even see, you just imagine, you can compare actually a person who is living in a village, right, who doesn't worry too much about, he doesn't have too much bank balances, too much of money, he doesn't have, no, he does think about his daily things. He'll be naturally more peaceful than somebody, the more money you accumulate, then you will be always worrying, no, how will I protect my money, what will happen to it, who will, no. So there will be always many people, relatives, etc., they will trying to take the money, even by killing the person, etc., etc., right? So wherever money is there, a lot of wealth is there. For example, we see many movies and all, right, where there is a treasure. I know people actually are getting killed for getting the treasure like that. So wherever money or gold is there, actually there will be quarrel. That's what actually it means, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay, so now in the last paragraph, what Prabhupada is discussing is about. So this question, this is little interesting. I want all of you to tell your all own thoughts about it. What Prabhupada is saying, it is actually very difficult to go to hell, and he's saying that it's very difficult to uh, make progress in spiritual life. There is no difficulty in coming in contact with the Supreme Lord. On the other hand, going to hell requires a lot of endeavor, and he's explaining, how for going to hell, for doing all this various activity, you have to put a lot of effort. What Prabhupada is describing here. Okay, so all of you, do you agree with this? What is your viewpoint on this? I want to know that. Do you think in the same way, or do you think it differently? You can read it once if you are not read it earlier, and then let me know. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. So,
Prabhuji, it will be better if you call out the name and ask each one of us, Prabhuji. Otherwise, I think I will pop up always.
okay, so Darhas is I think Madhavi Mataji. Then Subarayan is Sushil Kumar, Prabhu.
Prabhu, this is Suburayan, Prabhu. Yes.
Okay, Prabhu. Prabhu, you had attended earlier sessions?
No, this is the first time attending, Prabhu. No, Ravati Mataji sent me the link, so it was very interesting. Joined year after I'll attend, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you. So, but you attended some sessions, right? Some Bhagavad Gita sessions earlier, no?
Yeah. Bhagavad Gita session I used to attend, and even the BV session from our RR Nagar I used to attend, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you for joining.
Yeah,
And I
yes,
think
Prabhu.
Aruna Mataji is there.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, and so
Yeah.
then, yeah, I just wanted to check, who all are there. So basically, I'll just again rephrase the question. So what actually do this particular last paragraph? Prabhupada actually is saying that it is very difficult to go to hell. He's saying, and he's saying that it is very easy to make a progress in spiritual life. Okay, this is what Prabhupada is actually explaining here, right? So do you guys think, in the same way? Can you agree with it? If you can, if yes, can you explain? If you otherwise, if you don't agree, also please explain why.
I can. It is understandable, how Srila Prabhupada ji is saying that, because, he explains it, that to do papa karma, you
Mm,
need certain avenues to do that.
yes.
And to make the avenues available itself, it is a task, he
Mm,
says.
yeah.
However, in reality, we see that, because we are not prajnavan, or, we do not have the clarity, we get easily pulled down into that, because everything is freely available in Kali Yuga.
Yes.
And however, a sadhana requires, seeking, and also part of karma. We have to contemplate on good things, and give up bad habits. So it
Yes.
requires effort also in the Kali Yuga. So both are difficult, but
Yes.
perhaps because we are not prajnavan, we fall easily. Rising up seems to be difficult in practical sense.
Yes, Mataji. Very nice answer, Mataji. Very nice answer. So I would like other devotees also to share their thoughts. Some echo is coming. Yes, other proposed Matajis, please would like to know your thoughts. Uh, Revati Mataji, what do you say?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It depends on many things, Prabhuji. It will be. It depends on our karma, and it basically it depends on our desire to. For me, I basically understand one thing, Prabhuji, whether or not to follow all these four things. We have to we have to start doing chanting. While we start doing chanting, whatever we are attached to bad things, it will start going out from itself.
That is true, Mataji.
i
So,
i think
no,
even whatever we try, how much ever we try, we fall back, we get up. It is easy to give up, Prabhuji. It is very hard to stick to that,
mm,
to stick to any practice for that matter. Even to chanting, it is very hard to stick with anything, because as we are fallen soul, that's the reason we are existing in this material world. It is not that easy to give up all our desires, all our sense gratification stuff and all. But still, no, if we start chanting, Mataji used to say, one step we go towards God, 10 step God will come to us. I believe chanting, as Prabhupada ji said, no, it will
yes,
help us, Prabhuji.
definitely. That's true, Mataji. That is definitely true. So basically, chanting can solve all the problems, or any spiritual activity is like a fire, right, which can burn all the sinful reactions and also the tendencies to do it. That is for definitely sure. So, but at the same time, no, what are we trying to do in our sessions is that we are trying to understand little bit from a logical perspective, right? If somebody develops faith in chanting, then I think this logic is not necessary for them. Okay, but generally people don't develop faith in chanting or devotional service, right? Unless and until their intellectual quest or intellectual, what you call, intellectual aspect is not satisfied, people are not ready to take up devotional service. So that is why we try to analyze things, scriptures try to analyze things from a logical perspective also, right? Why actually this is required, what is important, why it is like this, why it is like that, etc., etc. Okay, so yeah, so here actually the fundamental question is that what Prabhupada is saying, that to become pious or actually spiritual is easy, and become sinful is very difficult. Okay, this is the question. Okay, apparently it doesn't look like, there's apparent contradiction. I mean, in the sense we feel that it, because what we see in our day-to-day life, today's world, if you take, everybody is sinful, right? We see so many crime activities, and there's no difficulty to somebody to become sinful. We see that they easily become sinful, but at the same time we hardly find anybody who is actually saintly, or no, who is interested in the spiritual topics. So this is what the apparent thing which you see every day-to-day life, right? But Prabhupada actually saying that becoming spiritual is very easy and becoming sinful is very difficult, he's saying, right? Then actually what is the difficult, why are we not taking up spiritual life if it is so easy? And no, why people are doing sinful activities if it is so difficult? That is a question, right? Apparent question. So Aruna Mata just nicely explained that aspect. No, I would like others also to just share their thoughts. That's what I know. My question was.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Chetan Kumar.
Prabhuji, I disagree with Prabhupada, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Uh, Means something like for going to going to Godhead, so we need to control our senses,
Mm.
and that senses also comes mind controlling, and then we are need to do lot of yoga. No, yoga means connecting to the God itself.
Yes.
So
But that
and
Prabhupada, that part Prabhupada also says. Now Prabhupada is not telling not like that. He's telling that the same thing only. He's also telling, no, you have to do control mind, all those things. There's no conflict, right? And you can continue. What is actually point that you are not agreeing with Prabhupada?
that the point I am not agreeing is that the endeavor we need to it will go the endeavor we to need to do for all these austerities, means all this this going to hell, Prabhuji. Something
Yes.
like endeavor will actually be doing. If you are not means the karma, means the what do you say, Prabhuji, that the modes of material nature will make us to do this all this endeavor.
Mm.
If you are not doing it,
Yes.
so all the five parts are there, no, Prabhuji, to it will control the our endeavors also, so that it will do the this modes of material nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so for this coming above of these three modes of material nature, we need to do the endeavor so that we need to go to the Godhead, Prabhuji. This is my
Yes.
opinion, Prabhuji. That's it.
Yeah. No, good point, Prabhu. What? Yeah, that is right. But generally, we should say no. We should not say that we are. I'll disagree with Prabhupada as much as possible because he is our acharya, na. So yeah, it is okay. We should put the points actually, and we can say that I'm finding it difficult to understand what Prabhupada is saying. No, like I'm not able to like that. That is a more better way of saying. But no, nevertheless, yeah. So basically, always we should try to what you call, because we need mercy, right, of Prabhupada and all the acharyas. So they will always be right only. But many times we feel that no, we find it difficult to understand what they're saying, or no, or we are not able to understand like how it is possible like this, right? That actually is the right mode, Prabhu. Yeah. Yes, the
Okay,
Prabhu.
sorry, Prabhu. I will do that.
No problem. Actually, yeah. So yeah, we have to just understand. That's all. Anybody else
Yes,
want
Prabhu.
to add any points here? Agreement, disagreement, anything? Madhavi, you want to say anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Before not here, not coming to Krishna conscious, I will just feel like in my work, Prabhuji, because of I didn't know what I do, which one I follow. Many demigods are there. Which one
Yeah.
I follow, I don't know. Then after coming, I came to clarity with Prabhuji, and then I concentrate in that which one I correct knowledge there. Prabhupada given Prabhuji.
Okay.
The way of they telling and the sadhana they doing, the way of they given sadhana, all are correct process in my view, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you. Anybody else want to add anything?
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Here,
Prabhu.
Prabhupada very beautifully explained
Mm.
how much money or how much effort has to be done for even go to hell.
Yes.
He's nicely explained. Even if you want to even do meat eating, he's saying you should have a slaughterhouse to make the meat or something like that. Even
Yes.
if you want to go do gambling, you have to go to casinos and hotels.
Yes.
And the illicit sex also, you have to spend a lot of money and other things for this prostitution and related stuff.
Yes.
And intoxication also is explaining we should have the breweries and other shops for all these things. And
Yes.
invariably you have to spend a lot of money even to go to hell.
Yes.
Whereas in the other hand, if you want to do to go back to Godhead, you need not to spend any money. We can do simple chanting of this Maha Mantra. That
Yes.
itself will take to our Godhead.
Yeah.
It's simple and it's no difficulty to approach the God, and God will take us to his
Yes.
place.
Yes.
Yeah, that is
Yes,
what
Prabhuji.
my understanding, Prabhu.
Yeah, very nice, Prabhu. Nice points. So yes, Prabhu. So all the points are valid actually here, right? So only difference is that no. So it all depends on what is the perspective or where are we, right, in our spiritual journey. Actually, see from a normal perspective, we see that going to hell is easy because no, you don't have to do anything. Just go with the culture or no, go with the public or go with the popular theme, and you can easily go to hell. if your mentality is there, and because everybody is doing, you don't feel that it is difficult. If you really analyze, we can see that our lives are very complex in today's world, right? All that activities, so that is why it is mentioned as these activities are called ugra karma, right? There is so much of endeavor actually in everything, but only thing is that because we are just like the as, as actually is used to working hard and for a small piece of carrot, as doesn't realize that it is a hard work, it just used to it. So similarly, everybody who is working hard day and night, right, they don't stop and think what am I really doing. Actually they think that it is very natural for me, there's no difficulty, this is my normal life. But actually it is a lot of hard work. Everybody is, struggling so much to make money or whatever, make their desires satisfied. And because everybody is doing it, nobody actually stops and think, is it the right thing, or is it really required, what are we doing? So that is the reason, because people are blind actually, right? That's why we say people are blind, right? They don't know what they're doing. So everybody is, that's what the entire population is going to hell, because that is how today's culture and the social systems etc is, right? So every activity is like this. So all these four activity, actually Prabhupada mentioned, without knowing we are doing all these things, all the endeavor behind is already, it's a given thing, because already we are working hard and we already have the money. Right now, once we have the money, then actually it's up to us. We can spend the money for all these activities, right? But then because it is a given thing, we don't understand the effort actually we are doing for this. So but in reality there is a lot of effort, because see, everything we are actually, from the small age we are studying, going to school, studying very hard, then going to higher college. There also we struggle so much, for competitive exams. We spend a lot of money, lot of time, effort, everything we dedicate actually for studying whatever courses we take up. And then after doing all this activity, finally you are getting some job, or you're doing business and earning money. So there is so much of endeavor, and then while working also there is so much of endeavor, right? Mentally and physically also, right? Some people are mentally taxing. The work is so much mentally taxing. People who are working in software industry or IT, they tax their brain so much. And then also whatever work we do, our senior people are not never happy. They always want more, and then we have to constantly hear their scoldings, etc. Right? So much thing mentally and physically we are struggling. And people who are working on the physical level, they have to work so much hard. So much of effort actually is required, right, to sustain. So that is how today's culture is. And then definitely there is a lot of effort in doing all these things. So actually this effort is more or not. For example, the spiritual side, making spiritual progress, is the effort more or less? It all depends on what is our perspective, or where are we, like which perspective we look at. For a person who is very simple hearted, right, for him actually the spiritual process is very very simple. Okay, but on the other hand, a person who is very sophisticated, right, who is very much deep into the materialistic form of life, for him the spiritual life is next to impossible. No, you can't even dream actually. No, how is it possible? People who are extremely materialistic, they will think that okay, these people, what are they doing actually? How is it possible? They are actually fasting the full day, sometimes full day without drinking any water, or no, like they are doing so many things actually. That still 2 hours they are chanting, 2.5 hours they are chanting daily. How they are able to, how are they able to, stop all these four illicit activities? It is not they cannot even imagine how it is possible. So for them, people who are extremely materialistic or very sinful people, their spiritual activity is very very difficult actually. It is now almost impossible. But on the other hand, you think about a person who is very simple hearted, right? For example, you take a person who is a brahmachari, for example. I'm just giving an example. Today's world brahmacharis are difficult, but traditionally, like people olden times, when a boy is small, he's sent to the gurukul, right? And actually he may be a king's son, right? But actually he will live just like another person, no, another actually person's son, who is maybe just a farmer, or no, having a very small income. All of the children will live in the same environment, same austerity they take. There is no difference. And then that king's son is able to live in a very austere condition without any difficulty, right? So and similarly, so brahmachari, he actually doesn't have any possessions. So ideally speaking, a brahmachari means he actually has kind of given up his family, parents, everything, and then he's living in a small ashrama in a temple or somewhere. And he doesn't he's not planning to work in his life, no. So he doesn't have to worry, he doesn't have family. So he just have to get the food for 3 times, right? That is only his requirement. He doesn't have any other requirement beyond that, no. Of course, he get a small place to sleep, and then if some disease comes, actually, somebody will take care of him, like, or he depends on the Lord. So if actually to come to that level is extremely difficult. But once you are in that level where actually, we are completely depending on the Lord, then the life is very very simple. No, actually nothing is to expect. It's very simple life. No, you don't have no tension at all. Actually, you have to just get up every day morning. No, sincerely do, like, participate in different programs, like, do the Mangalarati, just chant the holy name. Read scriptural books. No, and then do some preaching activity. That's all. Nothing else actually. You get prasadam, whatever, 3 times a day, and then you don't have to worry about anything at all. So that life is actually very very easy. But what is difficult is that the biggest problem is that the mentality, right, or the willingness to give up sense gratification, that is actually most difficult thing actually for anybody. So if somebody is ready to give up the attitude of sense enjoyment, right, then actually for such a person spiritual life is very very easy. But on the other hand, if you are not ready to give up the sense gratification or other material attachments, right, for them it is extremely difficult actually. The spiritual life is next to impossible. So this is the philosophical understanding of the two scenarios. Okay, but nevertheless, our acharyas, right, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and our acharyas, they have given us a process which actually is already well defined and self contained. So even though we are attached to sense gratification, right, but we have just the willingness to practice the activities which are given to us, right, simple activities, no, the four regulatory principles we have to follow, then chant the holy names. So at the most minimum level only this much is expected. We should not do the four regulatory principles, violate the four regulatory principles, and just chant. That is it. So if you have the willingness to do that, then actually our acharyas and parampara, no, the previous acharyas, they will ensure that actually we make progress by by our endeavor or by our own effort. It is not possible to give up the mentality of doing sense gratification, because the sense gratification activity is ingrained to the living entity when they are in the material world, because they come to the material world just because they want to enjoy independent of that. That is a seed root cause of coming to the material world, right? So the very reason we come to the material world is because I want to enjoy independent of the Lord. So naturally that is the most difficult to overcome for a living entity. So we discussed about different marga, right? Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, ashtanga, dhyana yoga and bhakti yoga. So in people who are in the jnana yoga, they try to understand this thing from a philosophical perspective, right? But actually if it is just dry philosophy without any attachment to the Lord, then actually it is very difficult. Even after understanding logically, they will still fall down, because there is no support from the Supreme Lord or from the acharyas, right? So we have to understand always that a person makes progress in spiritual life by the mercy of other devotees, other Vaishnavas and the previous acharyas. Our own endeavor it is not possible. So simply we can just pray to the Lord that I'm not able to give up these particular sense gratification. So I have these limitations, oh Lord, because my condition by so many lifetimes, I'm not able to give up. So you just have to pray sincerely, and you can cry in front of the Lord saying that I'm not able to give up, Lord. So by the our endeavor and sincerity, the Lord actually becomes pleased and he gives us the strength. Otherwise we don't have the strength to overcome, because see all the sense gratification etc is actually because of the Maya. Maya is the external energy of the Lord. We have seen it, right? Maya is material energy of the Lord. Krishna says, no, Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durattaya. Mam Eva Ye Prabhadyante Maya Medam Tarandite. This is a very, very fundamental principle. Devi Esha Gunamayi. This Devi or material energy is known as Durga, is consisting of Gunamayi, the three modes, Sattva, Raja, Tamo. Devi Esha Gunamayi, Mama Maya Durataya. So this material energy is not independent from the Lord. It is Mama, it's mine, Krishna's external energies. So Lord has created this material energy we discussed earlier, right? Just because so many living entities has a desire of enjoying independent of the Lord, they created a illusionary world where actually we can try to fulfill our desires, but we will not be satisfied. It's just like a reflection. But nevertheless, this material energy is very unsurmountable for the living entity. When the living entity is in the conditioned stage, when they are under the influence of Maya, the Maya is next to impossible to overcome, because she is very powerful. She is the energy of the Lord, right? And she is designed in such a way that she will keep the living entities entrapped in the material world by various means. By different, she keeps on giving you different sense gratification options. She try to influence your mind in so many different ways, and the design is such that the living entity finds it next to impossible, because no, first of all they don't even know that they are not the body, right? In that case there is no question. But once, even if you start understanding that we are not the body, still it is very difficult to overcome the Maya. So what actually the Lord himself is giving the option how to overcome her. What she saying, Lord says is that Mam eva ye prabhadyante Maya medam tarantite. Only by surrendering to me, Mam eva ye prabhadyante Maya medam tarantite. Only by surrendering to me, this Maya can be overcome. Otherwise, actually, this Maya is unsurmountable. So the point is that when Krishna is saying that Mam surrender me, means actually because the Lord actually is right now in our current condition state, Lord is not visible to us, because we don't have that. We're not spiritually advanced that we can see the Lord. So it is told that the Lord is manifested in the material world in various forms. So one of the forms actually is the deity known as Archa Vigraha. That is one of the manifestations of the Lord. Another form of the Lord, most important form of the Lord, is the spiritual master, the Guru. Guru actually is direct representation of the Supreme Lord. So a Guru should be a bona fide Guru that we have discussed earlier. He should be coming in a proper parampara. He should be completely sense and controlled. He should not have any material desires. He should be well versed in scriptures. Like that, there are multiple conditions for a bona fide Guru. So a Guru, such a Guru is known as a Mahabhagavata. He is a pure devotee. He is a direct representation of Krishna. right? And such a devotee, if you surrender to such a spiritual master, then by the mercy of the spiritual master, we will be able to overcome these anarthas, which are all these things, which are very difficult to give up. So a person who is ready to give up the material anarthas, who has understood that this material world actually is a temporary place, and I am not the body. With all this understanding, if someone living entity decides that okay, this material science gratification is not going to help me, I want to overcome it. If he sincerely desires, then for such a person, spiritual life is very very easy. Okay, otherwise actually spiritual life is very difficult. So since we have no power or control, we only hope for us is to depend on the mercy of other Vaishnavas, other devotees. So that is why association of devotees is very important. Try to be in the association of devotees as much as possible, right? And then pray for the mercy of the Lord. So by this mechanism only we can overcome the illusion energy of the Lord. Otherwise, illusion energy is not possible, because we see that great actually, even Lord Brahma also was actually illusion multiple times, right? And Lord Shiva, right? Oh, great demigods, Indra, everybody actually, they are all, and great sages like Durvasa Muni, not Vyasa, Durvasa Muni, then Vishwamitra. So all these great mystic yogis actually who have attained perfection in the mystic yoga, they all have fallen down at various stages. So what to speak of us, right? We don't have any power. So only hope is that one who has taken the shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda. That we have seen, that Padam Padam Yapipadam, right? Vipadam Natesham. We saw that sloka in the last time. It's a very nice sloka. Maybe we can look at one more time. So that is only hope. Padam Padam Yapipadam. Yes, this sloka is very nice sloka in Bhagavatam. So a 10th canto, 14th sloka, 14th chapter, 50th sloka. संसारिदये पादपल्लवप्लवं महत्पदं पुण्ययशो मुरारे भवाम्बुधिर्वत्सपदं परं पदं 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 यद्विपदं न तेषां. What is saying is that for those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of material world is like the water contained in the calf's hoof print. Their goal is Param Padam, Vaikunta, and place where there are no material miseries, not a place where there is danger in every step. So basically, the danger in every step is talking about the material world. Material world, there is Padam Padam Vipadam, means every step there is danger actually. Right? Danger in various ways. It can be physical danger, or it can be spiritual danger, like in the sense possibility to fall down from the spiritual position. So every step there is a danger. But actually, one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, for them, actually, this entire material ocean, right? Material existence is like an ocean, unsurmountable, will appear like the water which is contained in the hoof print of a calf. It's very easy to jump, a small hoof print of a calf, right? So, only way actually is to take shelter of the Mukunda or his devotees. Okay, so this is very important actually to understand. So yes, so two ways. One is philosophically trying to understand, or the process of jnana by trying to empirically, and by like a Sankhya process, right? Trying to empirically and logically trying to understand what is happening here. That is one way, but that is by alone doing that actually, it is not possible to overcome the material energy. We need the mercy of the Lord. So that is why the other processes are considered as inferior. Process like karma, jnana, dhyana, everything actually is considered as inferior to bhakti, because in bhakti we are directly trying to depend on the Supreme Lord, and actually is pure devotees, right? So that is why it's most powerful. All other processes are our own endeavor. We are not depending on anybody. By our own might, right, and our mental capabilities or intellectual capabilities, we are trying to overcome actually the material energy, which actually there is every step, any chance of falling down at any moment, because we are not taken shelter of the Supreme Lord. So that is why this process is very very superior. Okay, so that I think are the main points. Anybody has any questions or any points, comments, etc., can discuss. Everything is clear? Hare Krishna Mataji's, Prabhuji's.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So then, if there are no questions, then I'll ask questions. We discussed about how many principles of religion are there. What are they? What are the 4 principles? Anybody remembers? Without looking. Each of you can tell one principle of religion.
Cleanliness.
Cleanliness, yes. Then,
Truthfulness.
yes. Austerity, yes. Cleanliness, truthfulness, austerity. Then,
Mercy.
Mercy. Yes. Okay. So what are the four regulative principles?
No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication.
Yes. So which
Prabhu.
one is violating which? That is clear to everybody. So meat eating, etc., is violating the principle of
Mercy.
Mercy.
mercy, daya, right? No gambling. Gambling is violating the principle of
Faith.
truthfulness.
Truthfulness.
Then intoxication is violating the principle of austerity, and illicit sex is violating the principle of cleanliness.
Cleanliness.
Yes. So these are the four important things, right? What are the four places where Kali resides?
Where the slaughterhouse,
One is gold.
Yeah, gold is fifth one actually. Yeah, Prabhuji told
slaughterhouse,
slaughterhouse, right?
where
Intoxication.
intoxication,
Yes, that is like wine shops, etc., liquor shops. Then
Prostitution.
prostitution,
yes,
Meat eating.
yes. So places where these things are conducted, actually, there is where Kali, and then also gold, right? Gold. What are the four regulative principles? I think this is already covered. Understanding why do we need to follow the regulative principles? Somebody can say briefly. We have discussed it already.
we follow this regulatory principles, ultimately we'll go back to Godhead.
Yes. So that is a very high level answer. But specifically, with respect to the four things we discussed, right? Uh, because actually, follow regulative principles is required to follow because it is violating the four principles of dharma. That is one reason. Then two more reasons are there. We discussed actually. What is second reason? Because it is actually sinful, right? When you violate the regulative principles, it actually violates the pillars of dharma. And actually, second thing is that it is very all these regulative principles when we break, we are actually accumulating sinful reactions, right? So that these are the two important things actually. And then of third reason Prabhuji told. So ultimate reason is that we when we are becoming sinless, then actually our progress towards our journey towards the spiritual world is actually accelerated. As long as we commit sinful activities, we are actually dragging us back, or trying to keep us. We are actually going backwards in our journey of returning home. So if you want to make progress in the journey to return home, then actually we should try to become as sinless as possible. So gradually we should endeavor to become more and more sinless. So generally, completely become sinless is extremely difficult in the material world because every activity in the material world actually is bound to cause sinful active reactions because it can be small or big, right? Nevertheless, actually, like we have seen it, right? Just by walking, we have to kill so many small living entities. By breathing, we are actually killing some things. We are eating, we are killing. So we should endeavor to be as much as possible sinless. So and then, when we do devotional activity, and then we should avoid committing sinful activities willingly or knowingly, right? So that is very very important. Otherwise actually it is just like putting water on the fire, right? So when we do spiritual activity like chanting or any other spiritual activity, it is like burning the fire. And when we do sinful activities, it's like pouring water on it. So it will not be effective if you do both actually, right? So that is why we should reduce our sinful activities so that the spiritual fire can increase, and then we can purify us. In the spiritual fire only we get purified, and then we become qualified to go back to spiritual world. Because in spiritual world, every living entity is completely pure. There are set of qualities, attributes that actually the inhabitants of the spiritual world requires. Unless until we acquire the same qualities, we cannot go there. So that is why we try to purify us so that we regain our original spiritual consciousness. What are the benefits we get by following them? That we already discussed, I think. Now, what is understanding? Anybody want to say? What are the benefits of following the regulative principles? Krishna.
The
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
so ABCD, Prabhuji, or how?
What are the benefits of following the regulative principles?
Benefits. Okay.
No,
Basically,
no, Mataji, you please say.
see, all the answers we already discussed. Only thing you have to just remember and tell. That's all. Why, basically indirectly, why do you need to follow regulatory? What are the benefits of following them? We just discussed. No benefit of following the regulatory principle is that we become we reduce our sinful reactions, become purified, right? And then we can become closer to the Lord. How can we save ourselves from the material conditions of miserable condition of material existence? Yeah, this answer somebody can say. How can we save ourselves from the miserable condition of material existence?
Not involve these four Kali's places, so that
Yes.
we will not be in miserable condition.
Yes.
Yeah, Prabhu, yes.
Yeah. Somebody else want to add more points?
Control our sense organs, or senses better, so that it doesn't get
and
pulled towards.
Yes.
And
and
following
follow
ABCD principle,
everything.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Mandaji. Yeah, true. And the most important is you have to depend on the Lord, taking shelter of the Lord. We discussed the shloka. Now, what is the shloka? Anybody remember the shloka?
Manmana Mad Bhakta, Prabhuji.
Yes, that is definitely one way. But today we discussed one shloka, na, Mandaji. In Bhagavad Gita. How can we overcome Maya?
Prabhuji.
That Padam Padam one, Prabhuji.
Padam Padam is also there. Definitely, yeah. That is that is one of the shloka. That is in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes.
Also in Bhagavad Gita, also one shloka we discussed. That
Pumsa, something.
Devi Esha Gunamai.
Brahmabhuta Prasannatma.
So no, I was referring to this shloka, Mataji. So Devi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Durattaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Medam Tarantite. How can we overcome Maya? Na? Maya Medam Tarantite. How can we overcome Maya? Is actually by surrendering to Supreme Lord, right? Devi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Durattaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Medam Tarantite. So question is, how can we save ourselves from the miserable condition of material existence? By surrendering to Supreme Lord, by taking up to devotional service. That is the only way we can actually. Other things are negative, like there are two things now, negative and positive. So negative is getting, not doing, committing the sinful activities, not violating the regulatory principles. These are all negative things actually, like avoiding these things. But just by doing that is not completely guaranteeing that no, you can actually become, go back to Krishna, right? Going back to Krishna needs that we have to have positive connection to the Lord, right? So that is why some many people, maybe in the material world also, we may see that some people, there are maybe a lot of teetotalers, no, who are vegetarian, they don't drink anything, but it is not necessary that no, they are actually saintly, or no, they have any positive goal. They may be just nice people actually from material perspective. But unless and until there is a attachment to the Lord, which who is the Supreme Father, we cannot go back to the, see, unless and until we have a desire to go somewhere, we will not go, right? So for example, when we have, let's say I don't have any desire to go a particular place, I don't want to go to Kashmir, for example. No, unless and until think that I want to go to Kashmir, I have desire to go there, I will not go. Nobody is going to forcefully take you there. So similarly, unless and until living entity develop the desire that I want to go back to my spiritual world, my hometown, or my my Supreme Father's place, we are not going to go back to spiritual world. So ultimately, just giving up things is not sufficient, right? We have to have positive attachment to the Lord. That is very, very important actually. No, so both are required actually. So yoga, so just material renunciation or dry renunciation is not enough. That's why Jnana Yoga, or Dhyana Yoga is by itself is not completely successful, because they don't develop an attachment to the Lord. So we have to disconnect from the material world and we have to connect to the spiritual world, or we have to disconnect from the Maya and connect to Krishna. Right? Both has to happen. Otherwise, it is not the ultimate place we cannot reach. Ultimate Param Padam, if you want to reach, then actually we have to develop attachment to the Lord. Then only it becomes complete. Otherwise, it's just become detachment. That actually will not sustain for long. If you just become detached, no, dry renunciation is not sustainable. It will not last very long, right? So yes, this shloka also is actually very nice shloka. We can try to learn it actually. That's, it is also very rhyming also, right? Samashritya ye padapallavaplavam mahadpadam punyesho murare bhavambudirvatsa padam param padam 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 yad vibadam natesham, right? So if you don't want to live in this material world where every step there is danger, then actually the only way is to take shelter of the lotus feet of Supreme Lord Mukunda, right? That actually can give you the highest perfection. Which do you think is simpler, Krishna conscious process or material endeavor which blinds us? So this we have discussed in detail, right? Everybody has understood this point. Question number understanding 4. Everybody has understand. Anybody has any question in that? Which is simpler, Krishna conscious or material endeavor?
Krishna
Krishna
conscious.
conscious, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Krishna conscious. Because we
Yes.
don't need to work hard or or spend something. It is actually naturally in us, and we can do it.
Yes. Provided we are ready to give up or no tendency to
Us
enjoy.
gratification.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it is not easy. So
Yes,
for that's what for a simple person, a person who is very simple-hearted, devotional life is very easy. And if you are
yes.
very complex-minded, then it's not easy. It's very difficult actually. What are
Right.
the challenges you are facing, or you think you may face in following the Krishna conscious process? Anybody want to share something, or want to? Yes.
Concentration, Prabhuji, while chanting, our mind wanders here and there.
Yes.
So that I feel is the biggest challenge actually.
Yes.
Yeah, not
That
able.
yes, Mataji. Everybody has the problem, Mataji. So only thing is that we have to continue doing it actually. We have to continue chant. So some few things practically we can do is that try to do it in a time and a place actually where you are not much distracted. So time wise it is, we know, right, in the morning, early morning time is the most best time where the mind is calm. The mode of Satoguna is prominent. Early morning mind is generally calm. And as we enter more and more, no, into the daytime, the mind becomes thoughts more and more. When you get up fresh in the morning, our mind is relatively calm and peaceful, right? And then the, like, no, gradually the mind becomes more agitated. So when the mind is agitated, because as the time goes, right, we are worried about so many things, no, like the children have to be ready for the school, or I have to prepare breakfast, I have to cook, so many things will start worrying us. So then our mind will not be, even if we start chanting, no, we'll start thinking about those things. Or no, if we have some problem in our life, then actually we'll keep on thinking. So practically we can do certain things, like, no, like try to start to chant in the early morning, and then try to chant when like when others have not got up, early morning is a good time. Ultimately everyone is there. And then completely perfectly chanting without any distraction is very difficult actually. You understand that we have become very advanced in devotional life, that stage will not come. So we can, whenever our mind get wanders away, we can just understand that okay, my mind is wandering, again you bring back to the mantra. That's all we can do actually. So that itself is a great thing. So being aware of that, my mind is wandering, and again trying to endeavor to bring the mind back to the mantra, right, that is sufficient. No, and then gradually we'll become, as we get advanced more and more, we actually become more and more better actually in chanting. But this problem of mind wandering is not actually isolated problem. No, most people have, Mataji, that issue.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes. Anybody else want to share anything? Share or discuss, or what are the challenges you are facing or think you may face in following the Krishna conscious process? So I think everybody is perfect. Huh? No, nobody is facing any challenge. Very smoothly, Krishna consciousness is going on.
Can't mention, Prabhuji, that much challenges there.
Okay. Then actually, if you want any input, actually we can discuss. Otherwise, you can be aware of the challenges you are facing. And yeah, it is not that everything can be, everything has a perfect solution. But some devotees may have experience in certain, they might have also already gone through similar problems. They may be able to practically give solutions. But otherwise, you can just pray to the Lord, right? And then He will definitely help us. Okay. If anybody wants to discuss something, we can discuss. Otherwise, it's fine. How do you plan to follow the regulatory principles? This is also a question, optional question. If somebody wants to discuss anything, or if anybody has any doubt, we can discuss. Otherwise, it is fine.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm planning to do chanting, increase my chanting, Prabhuji.
Yeah, but regulatory principles, we have to try to follow also.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't have anything except one in the regulative principle, Prabhuji, meat eating. I
Yes.
am reducing it, Prabhuji, to much of the extent. It will take little more time because as a family I have to do it and the family has to accept it. So I hope
Yes.
Krishna helps me in doing that one day.
Yeah, Mataji. So you see, what you are think you can easily give up actually, but if you cannot force the family members to give up, now that will be definitely a problem. But you eating or not is up to you, right? I think hopefully you have some freedom there. And any of
No,
the
Prabhuji,
things
it is not.
somebody is forcing you to eat.
Yeah, if it's yeah, it's like that, Prabhuji. It's not forcing. It's not. It's they are not allowing me to stop.
Yes, Mataji. So it's okay, Mataji. So basically, we have to be careful, in our spiritual life also, that whatever we do should be sustainable. So suddenly becoming fanatic and, or trying to forcefully do certain thing and breaking, let's say, the some relationship, and then afterwards, we have to completely give up the Krishna consciousness. That situation should not happen. So on a practical situation, we try to make gradual progress. Wherever there's a possibility to make fast progress or no give up things, we should immediately try to give up. And wherever actually we feel that doing a certain activity will jeopardize, or will create problem in our family life, right? Then actually we should be careful, and then slowly only try to do, so that ultimately we should. What is more important is that you should be able to continue doing that, right? Doing it for few days is not important actually. Continuing to do it for a longer period and not as much as possible throughout our life is more important actually. So we should be very sensitive how actually we try to manage the things, right? So because everybody has a particular different scenario or a condition, right? I mean, it is not that like basically we can group the people. No, we can group people, all the people in the world, maybe to 3 or 4 categories, and or no, maybe 10 categories, and each of the category people will have similar problems. It is not that nobody's problem is completely unique actually. Similar problem many other people also will face, but nevertheless there are distinctions of situations in individual house, etc. So we have to be practical and no use our intelligence and then pray to the Lord to find a way, right? But it is very so we should always endeavor to give up the sinful activities. That is very important. Otherwise actually it is not possible to make progress in spiritual life. So how much fast we can do, that actually is up to us, right? See, many times what happen na, though we may give reasons that somebody else is the problem, many times we ourselves are not ready for that actually. So that problem is also there, right? Sometimes our mind no is many times mind will cheat us. Well, many acharyas have told that the mind is actually the biggest enemy, right? If the mind is not controlled, it is the biggest enemy, and if mind is controlled, it's the biggest friend. The mind is very difficult to conquer. In Krishna, Arjuna says Krishna, no, it's very difficult to conquer the mind. I can conquer the raging wind or a storm, but I cannot conquer my mind, Arjuna is saying. So this way mind is, so many times we don't even realize that mind is cheating us. Ultimately many times no, it is that I don't want to give up this particular principle, or sometimes I'm helpless because of habit. Many times it has happened like that, no? After some time, after understanding the spiritual topics, we will start developing a desire, or we'll at least acknowledge that okay, this is not right. But what is happening is that because of our habit, right, which has been practiced for many years, and we cannot give it up easily. Even if you try to give up, actually it again tries to defeat us again and again. So this is also there, and sometimes we don't realize it, and sometimes I don't want to give internally, frankly, or within the deep in my heart, I don't want to give up because I'm attached to it so much. So there are many reasons actually. We have to analyze what is actually happening there, and sometimes it may be that actually our situation environment is not favorable, others are not allowing. That is also possible. No, it is not that it is not impossible, but we have to really look into ourselves and see what actually is the real problem. And of course, always we have to depend on the Lord and association of devotees. That is the final way. Otherwise, it's difficult.
True, Prabhuji. Hare
Anybody has
Krishna.
question?
Yeah.
Raji Mataji, you have a question? Maybe. Okay. So any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move to the next part. Okay. Looks like no more question. Then actually we'll read Namamrita, we'll chant one round, and after that we'll discuss preaching his essence. Okay. So let me stop the recording.